pull up the live on my computer to make sure I'm not missing any comments, because yesterday my comments weren't working, but it looks like you can see them. So hi Cindy, thank you for joining. I'm super excited. I cannot wait to make the Denver bag. Hi Sherry. No, I did not. I'm sorry. I was setting everything up. I will check it right now real quickly. Okay, so so I see it right here, about directional fabric. Let me see. Yeah, so what you'll do is you'll just have to fussy cut it. You'll have to see, you'll just have to fussy cut it. So if it's directional, you'll put your pattern piece the way you want it to be seen on your bag. Making sure you mirror it so that it's like the opposite. But yes, I don't know what way your fabric is going, so I can't say if you need to do it upside down or if you need to do it like in a different angle. It will just depend on the direction of the fabric. Okay, I hope I answered your question. Hi Angela, I'm glad you can make it. I'm happy I can see comments on my phone. I think yesterday I wasn't connected to my internet from my phone, so that's probably why I was having some issues. Hi Joy. Okay, so I'm just going to wait a little bit. Let's see what time it is. Okay, so I'm going to wait a couple minutes, let a few more people hop on. Right now we can go over pattern pieces. I hope you can hear me. I have a fan going and the dryer is going also. The dryer is in my workroom. It's a converted garage. So, today we are sewing the Denver. I will be sewing the mini size. There is two sizes. There's a large size and then there's a mini size. So your materials may be a little bit different than mine on the mini size. And the measurements will be a little bit different also if you're doing the large. And let's see. Of course, as always, if there's multiple sizes in the pattern, I normally will let you know what you're supposed to be. If you're doing the large, what you're supposed to be sewing it at. Hi, Linda. Hi, Tammy. Thank you. Want to make sure I'm not missing any comments. Okay, so let's get started. So, let's go over the pattern pieces. I'm going to move this. Okay, so I have my straps right here. These are cut at, I believe, 3 inches is what so I believe 3 inches. I'm going to get my ruler and double check. Yeah, so they're cut at 3 inches, I believe, by 32. Make sure I give you the right measurements. Yeah, so these are cut at So these are cut at 3 inches by, hold on, I'm sorry everyone, 3 inches by 32 because I'm doing the mini size. If you're doing the large size, you will cut yours at 4 inches by 32. I marked my center line, which is at 1.5 inches. I have my clip connector here. I have my strap connectors. I have my handle Also, I already have the middle marked on my piece. I have my connector clip, zipper tabs. I have my exterior panel, my 2 exterior pieces. I have my lining pieces. I have my bottom, I have my foam, my vinyl, and my waterproof canvas, which is what I'll be using to line, along with my back exterior. I have the same pieces, the vinyl, the foam, and I have my side pocket pieces, along with the mirror images. So these are all of them. So I'm going to put these all back in, and I like to start with the straps. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the straps because I have a fresh bobbin. And then from there, after I do that, I'm going to, based on my foam pieces, to my, I'm going to, based on my foam pieces to my vinyl. Hi, Shanova. I'm going to set this aside. And then I also have my hardware. So I went through the group and I noticed that there was a lot of concerns about the zipper. It's not fitting if you're using zipper tape. So I went ahead and I cut my side pieces to 11 inches, and then I cut another one a little bit longer, 13 inches. So I'm gonna probably have to cut these down, but I rather have too long than too short. And then I have my zipper pulls. I'm using these really big chunky ones bag for my 2-year-old. So these will be perfect for him to be able to pull down on his own. The hardware is 3/4. So I have all my hardware here from Emmeline Bags. Sherry, can you use fleece instead of foam? I mean, you can, but you won't get the same look as what the picture shows. It won't be as structured. Your bag will be a little bit more slouchy. It also depends on if you're using vinyl. If you're using foam with cotton, it will be a very slouchy bag. There will be no structure in it. If you're using vinyl, I would say you could probably get away with it. But yeah, you'll just have to be aware that you won't be getting the same look as what my bag will look like, or anybody else who used foam. Oh, okay. Sorry, Brenda. Let me know if y'all can't hear me. It's probably just the internet. The internet's horrible out here. At my old place, we had really fast internet, and then out here where I live now, the internet is not as good as. So, I'm going to start with my straps. So I'm just going to go to the section about the straps. I just like to make sure that I'm doing them correctly. So this is the only thing that I go out of order. Kimberly, we are doing the Denver. I'm sewing this up in the mini size. Okay, let's see. That's the clip. So like I said, I'm going to do the straps first. I just like to get them out of the way. This is the only thing I really go out of order when I'm doing a pattern. I always do my straps first. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we're gonna do how most patterns have you do straps. You mark your center, and then you're gonna fold in the raw edges, and then you're gonna fold it again. That will give you a 3/4 of an inch strap. So I'm using double-sided tape from, I'd say Waywack, but I found that I might be saying it wrong, so I hope. This is a 1/2 inch. This is a 1/2 inch tape. Okay, I'm just gonna get some snips so I can snip this. Still getting used to my new setup. Things are not where it's normally at since I moved. Oh no, Dalva. Yes, the time changed on Sunday. Early Sunday morning. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm putting some double-sided tape right down the middle. I'm going to pull it off. And I'm just going to fold it to the middle. I'm leaving a small gap, about 1/16 of an inch. So I'm not putting it right to the line that I marked because I want a little bit of spacing in between my the raw edges, and I'll show you why when I get to that point. It helps just keep the straps nice and even. So I'm just getting the raw edge, putting it up, leaving a little bit of a gap, and then I'm going to turn and do the other side. I also clip this. I'm just going to turn it, do the same exact thing, leaving about a 1/16 of an inch, so that way I have about an 1/8 of an inch gap in between my raw edges. Okay, I'm just making my way down, making sure I don't pull the vinyl because I don't want to stretch it. So here is the little gap. Hi, Joyce. Yes, Cindy, their delivery is fast. Kristen, yes, you can do it with 1-inch hardware. With the mini, the straps will just be a little bit bigger than the 3/4 of an inch, but I don't see it as a problem. Personally, I like thicker straps. They just feel more comfortable on me versus a smaller one. But I did the smaller ones because it's a 2-year-old, so okay. So this is the reason why I leave this 1/8 of an inch gap, because when I fold it, it's nice and even. I hope you can see. It's dark in here. So it's nice and even. It's not, overlapping. Like you can't see the back end. They're flush, the folded edges. So that is why I like to leave an 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to clip this. Yes, Angela, if you're correct. If you're going to use 1 inch, you're going to want to you're going to want to cut your vinyl or your straps at 4 inches and not 1.5 inches. Because if you not 1.5, at 3 inches like the pattern says for the mini. Because if you cut it at 3 inches, it's gonna be a 3/4 of an inch strap. Okay, so I'm just gonna set this aside, and I'm doing the same exact to my second strap, making sure I leave a little bit of a gap. And then we will sew it. I am using, I'm sewing on my Juki DDL 5550. I am using Tech 70 thread from Sunny Sewing. And I'm using a gray color. I was going to use black, but I figured gray looked a lot nicer. Probably should have used red. Oh, but I don't have red. I thought I had red. Hi, Chris. Hi, Ann. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing, making sure I leave a little bit of a gap so that I have about 1/8 of an inch. Just making my way all the way down. And then I will clip. And then we can set this aside and we can move on to basting the foam. Hi, Colleen. So I'm just going to clip, folding it, making sure it's even. But because I left that, it sits evenly when I fold it. Hi, Deb. Thank you for joining. So I didn't leave a big enough gap right here, so I'm just going to slightly move it back because it was kind of getting hard to fold. Okay. I'm just making my straps, folding them down, making sure they sit even as I can. Okay. I'm gonna do a top stitching length, which I like mine at a 4. No, I don't believe foam goes in the straps. Yeah, there's no foam in the straps, but if you want to put foam in the straps, you totally could. It could be like the padded, it could be like a padded backpack, but I am just gonna do regular. Oh yes, Angela, I can definitely help you thread. I know when I first got my Juki, there was hardly any videos, sergers. Okay, yes, Sherry, I was using double-sided tape, not foam. Okay, so like I said, 1/8 of an inch from the end at a stitch length of 4. Whoops. I'm just doing my straps. I'm going down. I like to start at the folded edge where we folded over, and then I'll go to the part that I'll pivot, go around, and then go back up. I'm stitching at 1/8 of an inch on the edge. Okay. Am I back? Okay, so I think it's my internet. I just turned it off on my phone, so I'm just using my regular phone internet. That seems to be faster than my actual home internet. So I'm sorry, everyone. Okay, so my straps are done. Oh, can you see? My straps are done. I'm going to do my other strap. Oh, Brenda, I did not say what size I'm using. I want to say I'm using a size 16. Yeah, I'm using a size 16. These are the ones I use. Hopefully they can. It's 116. Okay, I'm hoping that I can still get comments. I'm gonna pull it up on my phone because the last time I was not able to get comments when I was on. Okay, so we're gonna go and, yes, I have 2 straps. I'm doing my second strap right now. So I just finished my first strap. I'm gonna put this on the folded side, I'm gonna back stitch, and then go down 1/8 of an inch. So I'm doing the same thing I did with my first strap. I'm sewing on the folded side at 1/8 of an inch at a stitch length of 4. On the folded side, I like to go nice and slow, making sure my edges are even. They're not overlapping. Okay. Yes. Okay. So now I'm going to go down this side, and then at 1/8 of an inch, I'm just going to go back, down, and then the strap will be done. Just going to look for my snips because I found them. Yes, so sometimes mine twist also. What I like to do, I'm trying to find my snips. I completely lost them. What I like to do to keep my straps from twisting is I like to make sure that instead of having the strap this way and coming in at an angle, that it's coming straight into the machine. I found that helps the most with not getting twisted straps. So I like to keep it nice and straight when it's feeding into my machine. Let me see. So I'll show you. See, it's very minimal twisting. Okay. Oh, found them. So I'm just cutting off these tail ends. For some reason, they get sucked into my machine and then it kind of throws it off sometimes. And if you were with me on my last live, my machine was not cooperating last time. Okay. So, strap is done. I have them. Surprisingly, I just found them. Those are the ones I was looking for. Okay. So, the strap is done. Now we're going to baste our foam to our vinyl pieces. Sorry, my little one's in here. I don't have a lock on my door like I did in my old room, so he likes to wander in quite a bit. Okay. This is who I am making the backpack for. So what I'm going to do is I left my basting spray. I'm going to go grab my basting spray and show you how I baste on my foam. Because like I said, I do not like to adhere my foam to, even if I'm using all cotton, I don't like to adhere it. It just wrinkles. Oh yes. Thank you everyone. Okay, so I use this basting foam, kind of the same thing. If you saw me in my cutting and sewing or cutting and interfacing live, I use this basting spray to baste on some of the smaller pattern pieces that I need to trace and cut. That is what I like to do. What I like to do with the foam is the side that you're supposed to adhere it on. I mean, really, it doesn't matter. I just like to do the side that it's supposed to be adhered on, and I just spray it so it gets nice and sticky, and I just lay it right on top, making sure it's nice and somewhat even with my vinyl. So I want to make sure that my vinyl is fully covered. I kind of do like a I don't cut my foam precisely. I just kind of fastly go around it. So there's always a little bit overhang. You can cut it off. Angela, yes. All my boys have curly hair. Hi Frida, I'm so glad you're here. I can't wait. I'm hoping you're sewing along with me so that you can, and I can't wait to see your finished bag. So I'm going to do the same exact thing that I did to my bottom panel piece. I'm going to spray it so that it's sticky. And I'm just, like I said, just want to make sure that my vinyl is fully covered. Okay, so that's done. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to baste it with my machine. I'm going to go ahead and put my stitch length to 3 1/4. And I'm going to baste around this at 1/8 of an inch. Yes, Diana. So, I always make an event for any time that I do the sew-alongs. If you put that you are joining or you're going to the event, it should notify you. Yes, you can use cork. But yes, in the group, if you go to the event section, it'll have the event for the sew-along. It'll say November sew-along. You can click going and it will notify you. And I try, so when I make the event, I start, before I was making the event a couple of days before I was sewing, but now I make the event in the Swoon group, is where the event section is. So I start the event when I open the polls for the sew-along. That way you have a week in advance to join. Okay. Hi. So what I'm doing here now is I'm getting my bottom piece and my foam, and I'm going to baste it at 1/8 of an inch My stitch length is at 3 1/4. That's pretty much what I do for my construction stitch length. For my top stitch, I like a 4. But really, it's all personal preference. So I'm just going to go 1/8 of an inch around this. Let me move my stuff. So I'm going 1/8 of an inch from my vinyl piece. Some of my foam might be overlapping just a tad. I don't worry about that because I can snip it off. So I'm just going based on my vinyl. So I'm making sure that so for my foot to do 1/8 of an inch, it's the middle of my foot. There's a little piece here. It's the middle of my foot, and so I'm just making sure that my vinyl lines up to that middle so I get that nice 1/8 of an inch. You can do 1/4 of an inch, I believe, depending on what the seam allowance is, which I should probably, let's double check. Let's see, seam allowance, seam allowance, seam allowance. Not seeing what the seam allowance is. I'm gonna assume it's probably 1/2 an inch because it's wanting you to put the foam 1/2 an inch from the edge, and normally she had you move it out of the seam allowance. Also, if you do not have an industrial machine, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cut out your foam from your seam allowance. So you'll cut out that 1/2 inch that the pattern is telling you to do, and then you can put the fusible webbing to hold it in, or woven fused or SF101 to hold that vinyl or the foam down. And so it's out of the seam allowance. You can also serge or do a zigzag stitch around the edge of the foam. It will press it down and make it a little bit thinner so that it's easier to work with if you're on a domestic machine. Okay, so I'm going to continue on doing 1/8 of an inch, basting this down real quickly. Hopefully it'll tell us what the seam allowance is as we get further into the pattern, or once we're done basting on. Okay. So there is my first, so dark, I'm sorry. So baste it on. I'm going to set this aside, do the same exact thing to my back piece here. I'm going to do 1/8 of an inch. Just because, I just like to do 1/8 of an inch. Just because that's what I'm used to normally when I'm top stitching. That's just my preferred top stitching length. But you just want to baste within the seam allowance. That way it's not seen when you're constructing the bag, or any bag. So I'm just doing 1/8 of an inch from the vinyl. I'm basting on my foam. I'm going to snip off these tail ends so they don't get sucked up in my machine. Okay, let's baste it on. Okay, I was hoping nobody noticed that, Stephanie, but yes, my washer is done. I need to change that because my old washers did not do that singing stuff, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. Okay, so the round part, so this is going to be the top, this is going to be the bottom. So if you have a directional fabric, you want to make sure that you put it to where this is the top so that it's facing the right way. Because if you put your directional fabric going this way, it's going to be upside down because this is the top. Okay, I am. Yes, my old washers did not do that. Okay, so now we're going to be assembling the side pockets. Okay, so we're going to fold both short ends of a zipper tab under a 1/2 inch towards the wrong side. So let's grab our zipper tape. If I can remember where I put it. Or not zipper tape, sorry, zipper tabs, and I believe, and I labeled my zipper tabs. These are my strap connectors, these are my handles. Where are my zipper tabs? Okay, here are my zipper tabs. So I'm pulling out my zipper tabs. Where did I put them at? Oh, you're right. Thank you, Angela. Oh yes, Cheryl, this is my favorite way to do it. If you look at some of my earlier videos, when I first started doing the sew-alongs, I constantly would lose these like pages. These random pages will be on the floor. I would lose them. They'd get lost. And yes, so I put them in here. These are the cheap folders. You can get them for like 5 cents, 15 cents. And yeah, I have also these like clear sheet protectors in the back that I like to put my pattern pieces in. Oh, it's okay, Kathy. You'll be able to watch the replay, and I can't wait to see your bag. Really, I can't wait to see everybody's bag. I love seeing everybody's creations. Okay. Zipper tabs, and we're going to want to also make sure that we have our side panel pieces. So you're going to fold both short ends of the zipper tabs a 1/2 inch towards the wrong side. Press. Since I'm using vinyl, I'm not going to want I'm not going to want to press because I'll melt my vinyl. So what I'm going to do is, let's not get the right pen. I'm going to find my pen. So I'm going to mark down 1 inch because you're going to want to fold you're going to want to fold in a 1/2 inch. I find, and I'll show you why I do a 1 inch, because if you get this and you fold it to the 1 inch, you get a 1/2 inch. That way you're not doing, like, you're not marking a 1/2 inch and then trying to fold it on the line. Ooh, that's awesome. I need to get more because I have this thing where I like to hoard patterns. I buy them just to have them. Okay, so I'm going to get a 1/4 inch tape and I'm going to just put it on the edges. You do not have to do this. If it gums up your machine or your needle, if like any kind of like adhesive gums your needle up, you can just clip. I use double-sided tape for everything pretty much. I am obsessed with double-sided tape. Okay, I'm going to do the same exact thing to all the zipper tapes. So I'm just going to add this 1/4 inch to the end, and then I'm going to mark my 1 inch from the end so that I can fold it a 1/2 inch. Yes. Pattern addiction is a real thing, along with fabric addiction. I buy a lot of fabric and don't ever use it because it's too pretty to cut into. So I'm just using these like snips so that they don't, oh, so that one's not a good piece. So it's only 4 tabs. I had 5 because I cut one that had a big old like snip in it and I didn't realize it, so I just set that one aside. So just putting my double-sided tape. If like double-sided tape gums up your machine, you could probably use about 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape so that it stays out of your stitching. Okay, so I'm marking my 1 inch from both the edges. I'm gonna do that to all 4 of these pieces here. Just marking. And I'm just using this little 1 inch by 5 inch ruler. I absolutely love this ruler. I got it at Hobby Lobby for like, I don't know, $3, and you can use a 50% off coupon. Tammy, I definitely know you have a pattern addiction. Exactly. Admit it and buy more. I also have a hardware obsession too. I found Emmeline Bags hardware and oh my goodness, I just want to buy everything. Okay, so some of this is just like hanging off and it's irking me, so I'm just gonna snip it off. My other snips weren't getting it. Okay. Oh no, you do need 5 pieces. So I have this big old snip in the middle. I'm wondering if it's going to be a problem, and yes, it is going to be a problem. So, give me 2 seconds, I'm gonna go cut another one. I have like 3 in my cart that I wanna buy. I really shouldn't. I have so many. Okay, so I just have the scrap piece and I just gotta find my little okay. So I just have this little what is this? A cutting mat so that I can cut a new zipper tab. It needs to be 3 inches by 1 inch. So it never fails. I'm always unprepared somehow. I will say I had my bobbins wound, which I'm pretty proud of myself for that, because normally I don't. Okay. Gonna go ahead and just mark my 1 inch markings on the end. And then I'm going to add my double-sided tape. And then we can move on. Ooh. I actually just ordered from Fabric Warehouse Direct, I believe. I always get that like mixed up. But I bought some really cute vinyl. I got hunter green and like a slate blue. I want to say it was, or steel blue. It's like a marbled fabric or marble vinyl. So pretty. One of my best friends from high school, she's having a baby. She's having her first baby, and so I'm making her a Harry Potter diaper bag. So I'm super excited. Okay, so let's fold these edges. So fold towards the wrong side, fold in half, and then match the two folded edges together and press. Repeat to the folded remaining. Set three aside for now, and then so I'm going to add Yes, Colleen, I'm super excited. I'm going to be doing a sunshine crossbody bag. It's for my mom. As most know, we just moved. And she helped me paint the entire house. We had long nights till 3 a.m. trying to get the house ready so that we can move in. And so I'm just making her a cute little purse. Her favorite color is hunter green, so it's a little thank you gift. Because they did a lot. Ooh. So I'm just folding these a 1/2 inch. So I marked that 1 inch so that when I fold, it comes out to a 1/2 inch. See, so this is a 1/2 inch. And I'm just doing this to all of the pieces like the pattern tells me to. And then we're gonna set 3 of them aside and we're going to just work with 2 for now. But I'm kind of sitting here wondering, if my zipper tabs are going to be too small because I feel like a number 5 zipper, which I believe is what it, no, it just says 3 all-purpose. So I might actually end up having to cut. Thank you, Cheryl. Yes, I might end up having to recut my zipper tabs because they're going to be too small for my zippers, I believe. Yeah, see, because my zipper tabs are, so see, if you're using zipper tape, you're going to need to consider that because these are 1 1/4 of an inch. So I was not thinking. That's okay. It happened. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this. So I'm actually going to cut mine so I do not need to worry about raw edges. It's okay. I'm really just getting started. All I did was base the foam and did the straps. So we haven't really dug into the bag yet. We're just now starting. So my tabs are wrong because I'm not using an all-purpose zipper. I'm using zipper tape and it's measured at 1 1/4 inch. So what I'm going to do is if you're using vinyl and you don't care about raw edges, you can cut. You don't have to worry about doing the fold. So what I'm gonna do is, let's see, what I'm gonna do. Let's see, what am I gonna do? Hold on. Let me double check this. No. I'm right. I do want to, okay. So I'm going to cut my pieces to 2 inches. So I'm going to do 1 1/4 inch or 1 1/2 inch by 2 inches. So let's see, 1 1/4. This is 1 1/4. This is, sorry. Okay, so I'm cutting mine to 1 1/4 by 4 because I'm not gonna worry about doing the fold like I was doing before, because I don't mind having raw edges on my zipper. And when it comes to this, you don't have to worry about vinyl fraying, which is why for the, if you're using like a fabric or a cotton, you're gonna wanna make sure that you fold it in that 1/2 inch so that it doesn't fray. So, let me, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay. So I have 2 cut right here. 2, 1 1/4 by 2. One 1/4 by 2. Okay. So let's redo this to I'm going to cut this down to 2 inches, right? Because that's what I wanted at. Let's double check before, yeah. So 2 inches. And I should have cut 1 more to get 5. 2 and double check 2. Okay, so if you're just now joining and you're kind of wondering what I'm doing, my zipper tapes are off because I am using zipper tape, and my zipper tape is measured to 1 1/4 inch wide, and it's not 1 inch like a number 3 zipper is, or a number what else? Or a number, or just a regular all-purpose zipper. Those are normally 3-inch zippers. So I have my 2. I'm just gonna grab one more thing of scrap and then cut out that last one. Okay. So 2 inches by 1 1/4. 2 inches by 1 1/4. And where did I put my... So I'm going to set 3 aside. We're only working with 2 right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set okay, so now you want your zipper to be 12 inches, or no, you want your zipper to be, let's see, 11 inches. Let me see. Trim both ends of the zipper so that there's only 3/8. So if you're using a pre-made zipper, you want to trim down the edges so that there's only 3/8 of an inch on each side. for the zipper tape. So if you're using a zipper tab or like zipper tape like I am, you're gonna want to cut it longer, and then you're gonna have to do a little bit of like, I guess, calculation. So top stitch along the stop to secure about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my exterior panel, because this is how I'm going to measure out to make sure that my zipper is correct. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting my zipper on one edge, and I'm going to move this around as if I am going to adhere it on, or like I'm going to baste it on, like the pattern tells you to. But this is just to make sure that I have the correct size zipper. And it looks like I do. So if yes. So if you see, it fits perfectly. So that is why. If you have a pre-made zipper, or if you not pre-made, I cannot talk today. If you have zipper tape, you're gonna want to cut down your zipper to 11 inches for the mini. If you're doing a large and you're using zipper tape, you're just gonna want to do what I did to the side of the like I just did. So you just want to make sure that when you put it on the edge that your zipper is going to go all the way across. So I cut mine at 11 inches, and that seemed to be a perfect fit. So I'm just going to do like the pattern says here. Let me double check, make sure that this is 11 inches. It is. And this is 11 inches. Perfect. And I'm getting my lighter, and I'm just lighting the edges so that my zipper tape does not fray. So I'm going to set this other piece aside, and I'm going to put down my zipper tabs. So I'm just folding it in half and just adding it right up to the edge. And I'm going to do just like the pattern says. I'm going to base this down at 1/8 of an inch from the edge. So I'm just going to remove my clips. If you want, you can use some double-sided tape. So I'm going to put my stitch length to a 4. You don't really have to worry about back stitching. I back stitch just because it's habit. So the sides are going to get caught anyway, so if you don't back stitch, that's okay. So now I'm going to do the same exact thing to my other side. So I'm just going to make sure that my zipper tape is nice and even. It is. And then I'm just going to clip one end, and I'm going to do 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Okay. There we go. So my zipper is on. Oh, you are totally right. Thank you. I forgot my zipper tab. So I'm gonna need my seam ripper. It happens. We all mess up. I especially mess up. Everybody knows that. I wish I would have looked, but that's okay. I can easily fix it. And I'm going to make sure I remember for my next one. No, don't be like me. Put the pull on. It never fails. I always mess up and alive. I probably would have realized eventually. If you didn't backstitch, it would have been easier to unstick these, or to seam up this off. Okay. So I'm going to add this on, and I'm just going to go ahead and add on all my zipper pulls now. So I'm just going to put my pulls on real quickly. There's one. There's two. And my third. Oh, Colleen, I have done it quite a few times also. You are not alone. Okay. So all my zipper pulls are on. Don't be like me. Okay. So I'm going to grab the one that already has the pull on, and then I'm just going to grab this. I'm going to put it on so that the edges are concealed. Okay. And then I'm just going to follow the line that I originally stitched. Just follow those previous stitching, and nobody will know. Nobody will know. No, so if you're doing cotton, you don't have to worry about folding on the sides, because you're going to stitch it into your seams, so you're not going to see the sides. It's not going to be fraying and visible. So you only need to fold the short ends. You only need to fold the short ends if you're using cotton. Okay. My first zipper is done. Let's grab the, whoops, okay. I feel like I'm missing a piece now. I just threw that across the table and now I have no idea where. Alright, we'll figure it out when we get to that piece. So let's see what the pattern says now. So trim down the edges, slide one of these into the fold so that the two folds are butting up against the zipper. Stop and pin or glue the zipper plate tab in place. top stitch along the fold near the stop to secure. Repeat to sew another zipper tab to the other end of the zipper. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do we actually put 3 layers of interfacing on each pocket when using cotton? No. You would just put 1 layer of interfacing on the pocket. So let me see, because I know I remember seeing this piece where it said okay, so what it's saying here is if you look, you're cutting 1 contrasting and cutting 2 lining. And it's telling you to cut 3 woven interfacing, but that's just because if you're using a contrasting quilting cotton for your contrasting fabric, you're gonna want to interface that, and that's 1. If you're cutting 2 linings that are quilting cotton or like duck canvas, you're gonna want to interface that, so that will make 2. That will make 2. So altogether it's 3. So like each pocket, so like one side of the pocket has 3 pieces. So side A has 3 pieces and side B has 3 pieces. If you're using vinyl like I am, you really will only do 2 interfacings if you're using quilting cotton as your lining pieces. If you're like me, I'm using a waterproof canvas and a vinyl, so I do not need to interface at all. So say I was using all quilting cotton, I would need to to interface all 3 of these pieces. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just, I guess I am going out of line a little, or going out of order just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and do the same exact thing to the other side since I'm already here, and then we don't have to worry because we're gonna have to do this on the other vinyl or the other zipper tab. So I'm just folding mine in half, and I'm just gonna slip it my zipper in, making sure it's even. I mean, if it's not even, it's not a big deal because you're not going to see it. These are going to be sewn into the seam. Okay, so going to stitch this at 1/8 of an inch. I'm using a stitch length of 4, and I did not back stitch. Normally I would, but just in case I mess up and I have to pick, I just want it to be a little bit easier. Okay, so that's all done. So I'm just going to set that piece aside, and now we can go back to, make sure I'm not missing any comments. So now we're going to put the now we're going to be putting the zipper onto our side pieces. So what I'm going to do is find all my side pieces. Oh, here it is. Okay, that's why I had them put differently. Okay. So this is side piece A and this is side piece B. So I'm going to real quickly just write side piece B. That way I'm not getting mixed up, because this is the mirror image side. So this tells you to get side piece A, so you're going to want to get your contrasting piece, so the exterior piece that's going to be seen from the outside. You're going to want to grab that. Sorry, this piece is. You're going to grab your zipper, and making sure that your zipper is the way that you want it to open. I want my zipper to open from the, so like I want it to open like this, so like going down, or going up. It really, I guess it doesn't matter. You can have it at the bottom, you can have it at the top. I'm going from the top. So you're going to match the edge of the zipper tape to the raw edge of the panel. The zipper will need to bow in order to fit properly as in the diagram. Using a zipper foot, sew along the edge at a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so I'm going to match this up. I want to make sure. So you're going to want your zipper to be face down. So right side's touching, and then you're going to clip. So you want to make sure that the edges are matching up. So edge to edge from one edge, and just make your way down. Uh-oh. Okay. So Brittany said this, or Marie said to start at the middle. So if you can clip your, I'll probably do that on the second one because so to probably help, you can find your center on your zipper. Oops, that's broken. You can find your center on your zipper and then find your center on your side piece and put it on that way. It says to base at a 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to just base mine at an 1/8 of an inch. And then that way you can't see my basting stitch if I like, because if you do a 1/4 of an inch and then you put your lining side pocket B on, and you don't do an exact 1/4 of an inch, you'll see the basting stitch. So you'll see two stitching. So I'm just gonna do an 1/8 of an inch. Oh, I'm gonna put my stitching back to 3 1/4. I'm just going to slowly make my way. I'm back stitching. I'm just making sure that my zipper lines up to my edge. And I am going at an 1/8 of an inch. The pattern tells you to go at a 1/4 of an inch. Oh, yes. Hi, this is Hulk. Say hi.
Hi.
What's up, dude?
Oh,
Okay. Where's Dad at?
he's up there.
Okay, well, can you have him help you? Sorry, everyone. Here we go. Other foot. Okay, next time, can you have Dada help you? Okay. This one's a little bit harder. So, there we go. Okay. Thank you, Brenda. Okay, I'll fix it. No, so my lining is not in here at the moment. What I'm doing is I'm basting my zipper onto my exterior piece first, this just makes it a little bit easier. The pattern I'm going based on how the pattern tells you. It wants you to base this on. The only difference I'm doing is instead of basing it at a quarter of an inch, I'm basing it at 1/8 of an inch. That way, when I put my lining piece on and I stitch that at a quarter of an inch, I don't have to worry about my basting stitch being seen because I did my basting stitch at 1/8 of an inch. Okay. You're gonna have to do this one's too. Ooh, it's ripping. Oh, it ripped. Mommy's got to fix this later, okay?
Okay.
Here, we'll put a clip on it. Okay. There you go. Sorry, everyone. Normally I have a lock on my door. I do not. So, as I said before, he kind of just wanders in. And Dad can never do anything right, so they always come to me. Cheryl, I am using Tech 70 thread from Sunny Sewing. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to be doing a basting stitch at 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going slow, taking this curve slowly, making sure that the edge of my zipper is lining up with the edge of my exterior piece. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Kathy. I'm just making my way. The pattern tells you to do a quarter of an inch, but like I said, 1/8 of an inch is just fine because then you don't have to worry about perfectly stitching on that quarter of an inch so that it doesn't get seen whenever you're putting your lining piece on. Now, like I said, I'm taking it slow. I have my stitch length to like a 3 1/4. And I'm making sure that anytime I adjust, I put my needle down. Because I tend to always rip out my my pieces if I don't. So I'm just making my way. Now that I'm getting to not like the end of the curve, it's a little bit easier to stitch. Back stitching. Okay. So, just gonna cut off these excess threads. So here is my basting stitch for the exterior piece, 1/8 of an inch. That way, when I grab my side piece B, I don't have to worry about stitching exactly on the already existing stitching. I can just stitch at a quarter of an inch. So I'm going to line up. This is probably when I would say definitely try to find your center seams or your centers of your zipper and your piece, because it will make it so much easier to line this up, just like Marie had said to do. So I'm just going to grab my clips and I'm going to clip this all the way down, matching up my edges of my lining. So I'm sandwiching my zipper in between my pieces, because I'm going to then pull this and you'll see the zipper will be on the top, and that will be your first piece done. So I'm going to real quickly change out my zipper foot. I have these Teflon feet here that are super tiny. This will just help because I have a zipper here and I don't want to. I just find it a little bit easier. I don't have to worry about pulling the zipper pull out of the way. I can get a nice, good quarter of an inch. And sometimes you forget to move the zipper out of the way, and you get that like curvy, like when you hit it, kind of curves out, a wavy seam. So we're just gonna avoid that by just having my zipper clip. So you're gonna want to stitch this at a quarter of an inch. So I'm gonna start back stitching. Just gonna slowly make my way down, making sure I don't hit that zipper pull. I shouldn't because I have a narrow zipper foot in. I'm using a Teflon foot. I got these off Amazon. So I'm just stitching this at a quarter of an inch. I'm going slow, making sure I get a nice, even seam. I want to make sure that my seam allowance is exactly a quarter of an inch like the pattern calls for. Okay, making sure I back stitch when I get there. I'm using a construction stitch of 3 1/4. That's just what I like. So now you're going to pull this out. Make sure I'm not missing any patterns or any comments. Patterns. Okay. So now you're going to flip both panels right side out away from the zipper. Press. Since I'm using vinyl, I'm not going to want to press because it'll melt it. But you're going to top stitch through both of these panels at 1/8 of an inch. Pin or glue baste the long edge of the zipper to the long edge of a lining side A piece. This side, the side pocket panel should be the right side against the wrong side. Make sure the side pocket is correctly orientated by comparing it to the pocket panels already sewn. Okay. What? Okay, can you go ask Dada to help me, please? Because I'm trying to do a video and we can hear you crying. Okay. So I'm just going to press this as good as I can with, I'm going to finger press this. I think I'm going to pin, I'm going to go ahead and get a couple clips here. And I'm just going to clip these ends, making sure they're nice and even. Okay, so I'm just pulling this, making sure everything is nice and flush so that when I go to top stitch this, it's nice and even. Since I cannot press it like cotton, like you would be able to cotton. Just want to make sure I'm not getting like a big lip on the, on my lining side. And now I'm just going to top stitch this. I'm using a stitch length of 4. I'm gonna go ahead and top stitch this. I'm just gonna take it slow, making sure everything is nice and even. Pulling your lining so that you don't get like a lip or anything. Because we pinned it, we shouldn't have that problem. Taking it slow along this curve, making sure everything is even. If I need to adjust, I'm making sure that my foot is down or my needle is down so that it doesn't shift and cause me to have some like wonky stitching. I'm just kind of following the edge with my foot. Since I'm using a narrow foot, it comes out to about 1/8 of an inch for my top stitching. I'm going to back stitch, and there we go. So there is my top stitching. Yes, Erica, this is a Teflon foot. This is from Amazon. It's a narrow Teflon foot. So it's like a zipper one. It came with 2. It came with like zipper ones, and then it came with this one where it was just like the hole in the middle. So I'm trying it out for the first time, and I actually really like it. Okay. I'm just going to trim up these excess thread tails. So I don't know if you can see. So now we top stitch. So you're gonna get a lining side pocket A. And you're going to do the side pockets. The side pocket panel should be right sides against the right side against the wrong side of the bottom side of the zipper. Okay. So you're going to want the pocket panel, so you want the right side to be against the wrong side of the bottom zipper. So just like this. So pretty much your right sides are going to be touching for your lining. Just had to kind of, I'm more of a visual person, but I figured it out. Okay, so I just kind of have a little crease here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the middle point of this. And I'm just going to match it up. Okay. And now I'm just going to flip this together. It's all nice and even, making sure it matches, and it does Perfect. Okay. Now for this, you're going to baste this. Yeah, so we're gonna baste this at 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just gonna go 1/8 of an inch. Actually, I'm gonna do this from the lining side. And so I'm gonna put the zipper down. And I'm going to baste this, making sure my stitch length is back to 3 1/4. Baste this at 3/8 of an inch because then we're going to get our exterior piece and we're going to put that on at 1/4 of an inch. I just don't want to see my basting stitch. Actually, I'm going to have to switch back to my... I'm going to switch back to my regular foot. Okay. And if you don't have a Teflon foot, but you have a zipper foot, a metal zipper foot, you can put Scotch tape at the bottom of your zipper foot, and it will work nicely as like a Teflon foot. That's what I did to one of my my regular like metal zipper foot that I have before I got the Teflon foot, and it worked nicely. And it didn't stick or anything. Okay. So, like I said, I'm going to stitch this down at 1/8 of an inch, just making sure that my lining and my zipper are edge to edge. And you can see where the zipper is touching on the lining. So I'm just going slowly around this curve, just making sure everything is nice and even. Remembering if I do decide to adjust, I am making sure that my zipper or my needle is down. That way you have nice even stitching. You don't have to worry about accidentally pulling your pieces out from underneath your foot. So here we go. Right here at this corner. My needle is down. I'm going to adjust a little bit so that I get edge to edge. Whoop. Went a little too quick. That's okay. I'm still at... Okay. So, I did my 1/8 of an inch. And if you look and you see, that is how it's gonna be just like this. You want to make sure that it looks like this, so when you open it, you can see the nice side of the canvas, and then you see the other right sides of the waterproof canvas also. Okay, set that aside. So this is going to be side pocket A. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my side pocket A, and I'm just going to put it on so that I know that this is side pocket A. Now we're going to move on to the side pocket B. Doing the same exact thing that we did before. My stitch length is at 3. I'm gonna grab the mirror side, set this right here, and let's see. What am I? My zipper. Okay, grabbing my zipper. I'm going to cut off this extra thread here. Trimming up this. I'm going to crease this. I'm going to try to see if it's I'm going to match edge to edge, and so I'm making sure that my zipper is the right sides are touching, so the right side of my exterior is touching the right side of my zipper. I'm going to move my zipper head to the top. Making sure that my edges are even, so that my zipper edges are even. So my zipper edge is touching the edge of the curve of the exterior piece. Use as many clips as you need to. I use a lot. Thank you, Sonova. Oh, good, Brenda. Yes, I'm a visual learner also. So like sometimes when I sit here and I have to say the instructions over and over and I'm reading out loud, it's so that I can like process it, because I'm definitely a visual learner, which is why I love YouTube videos. But there's not a lot of tutorials really out on a lot of bag patterns. So okay, so I'm doing the same thing. I'm stitching this here at 1/8 of an inch, like I did my other one. The pattern tells you to stitch at 1/4 of an inch. You can if you want to. I choose 1/8 of an inch just because, like I said, I don't want my basting stitch to be seen when I attach it. And sometimes I'm not always precise, so like though I may have done 1/4 of an inch, I can't say that my next stitching will also be 1/4 of an inch. So if I do 1/8 of an inch, I don't have to worry about that. I know that I won't see my basting stitch at all if I do 1/8 of an inch, because I'm going to be adhering, or you normally stitch a zipper on at 1/4 of an inch. So really, it's all personal preference on what you want to do. You just don't want to go bigger than 1/4 of an inch, because you definitely will see your basting stitch if you do bigger than 1/4 of an inch. Would I consider this a beginner bag? Honestly, I would say yes. I feel like the hardest part of the doubt of this bag is probably this zipper right here. I mean, I'm really bad at gauging what a beginner bag is, because I'm also the type of person that, like, when I first started making bags, I was doing bags that probably were not considered beginner bags. Yes, they were frustrating and I like wanted to throw my machine out the window, but I learned a lot. If you want to make this bag, you absolutely could, whether you're a beginner or not. Will it look I mean, will there be mistakes? Yes. Will it look nice? Yes. You'll know the mistakes, but I'm sure nobody else will. I mean, as most of y'all know, I messed up quite a bit, so I say yes, it's a beginner bag. It could be, with the help of videos. I mean, really, I don't. I'm not the best at gauging whether a bag is a beginner bag. But right now I say it's fairly easy. I was really nervous about this zipper here. As long as you have the correct measurements for the, zipper tab, like if you're using a pre-made or not pre-made, what am I trying to say? Now that you have the link to make for the zipper tape, I think it would be easy. Because I think a lot of people had problems with they were using zipper tape. And zipper tape compared to an all-purpose pre-made zipper is longer because they have those tail ends. Sorry, I rambled on and I had little hands. I didn't even realize, Rebel. Okay. So we're doing the same exact thing. Now we are sandwiching. We're sandwiching this in. I did not do it correctly because I was talking. Oh, I guess everybody's gonna be coming in. Oh, that's why. Wait. What is... Hold on. Did I do this wrong? I have the wrong piece. Oh, it's right here. Okay. You're gonna want to grab your side, your mirrored piece. I want to say this is side piece A, I believe. Yeah. Okay. Your side piece A. I was like, this is not right because I wasn't using the mirrored one. So make sure you use the mirrored one. You want to make sure that the right sides are touching the right sides of your vinyl. And you want to make sure that you're sandwiching your zipper. Also, I always check that when I clip it, and I'll show you what I mean. When I clip it, I kind of like gauge, like, okay, if I fold this over, this is how it's gonna be, so it's correct. Thank you, Colleen. I was like, where did I put this piece? I'm telling you, I put stuff somewhere and I always forget. Yes, exactly what Shanova said. You can make any bag you want. That is why we have the Swoon group, so that if you have questions, if you're stumped on something, you can always ask the group. You can always PM me. I have every Swoon pattern that's been sold, so I'm always there to like read through the pattern and help you through it. My goal is to eventually do every single Swoon pattern. Okay, so I'm going to stitch this on at a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. I did not change my zipper foot because I forgot. So I am just using my regular foot, 1/4 of an inch. I'm just gonna have to make sure that I move my I'm gonna have to make sure I move my zipper head out of the way, or my zipper pull. Just making sure everything's nice and even. My foot is down, or my needle is down, and I'm just going to lift my foot up and pull my zipper pull out of the way. And I'm just going to adjust, make sure that everything is nice and even, and go the remaining 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so that is done. Now you're going to open this up, just like before, and then you're going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to pull out some of these clips, and I'm just going to make sure, whoops, that everything is nice and even. Don't touch that. Sorry, he's messing with my embroidery machine. Thank you, Diana. Yes, Sherry. So you're going to sandwich side pocket A after you do this side pocket B. You want to make sure that when you put your pieces down, that the right side of your fabric is touching the right side of your vinyl. If you clip it on and you notice that the right side is facing up at you, and your like lining piece is sandwiched in between, or your zipper is sandwiched in between, and you put on your lining piece and you realize that the lining is facing right sides up, it's not correct. You want to make sure that you're using your mirrored piece. That way when you fold it open like this, you have your right sides facing out, your other right side facing out, and your wrong sides are touching. So these wrong sides need to be touching when you pull it out like this. Okay, so I'm just grabbing, no, don't touch. So I'm clipping these here. I just want to make sure they're even. It'll just make everything a lot easier. Okay, so I'm starting on this side because it's easier. So like with my zipper facing towards my machine, because for some reason it's like really weird to stitch on this side. I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna change my stitch length to a 4. I just want to make sure this is all pushed. And we're just gonna top stitch. I'm using a top stitch stitch length of 4. I'm just making sure that everything is pulled and taut. So I'm just making sure everything's nice and even. Okay. Oops. My top stitch is done. So, I've top stitched at 1/8 of an inch. And we are now going to add our second piece. You want to make sure that for this one here, I'm going to just trim my threads, make sure they're even. Okay, so for this one here, you're going to have your right side touching your wrong side of your zipper. And this is once you've already top stitched your other side. So like once this piece is assembled, you're gonna want to put your back on, because this is gonna be the inside of your pocket. So when you open up your zipper, you want to make sure, so like if you open up this zipper, you want to make sure that the right side of your fabric is facing up. If you open up your zipper and it's the wrong side of the fabric, then you're gonna want to switch it around, or you've accidentally sewn on the wrong piece to your other side, or you may have you may not have cut out a mirror piece and accidentally cut out two of the same pieces. Okay. So for this, I'm going to stitch at 1/8 of an inch because I'm just basting this on, and then from here we're going to move on to putting on the exterior panel. So I'm just making sure this is all nice and even. I'm stitching at 1/8 of an inch. The pattern calls for 1/4 of an inch, but I just like 1/8 of an inch because I know for sure it's not going to be seen within my seam allowance when I attach anything out, my second piece onto my zipper. I'm just making sure it's even, that no blue is poking out. With the blue is my lining, so I just want to make sure that my lining is not poking out. Okay. Taking it slow. When I adjust, I'm making sure my needle is down, because there's been plenty of times that I've accidentally pulled out my fabric from the bottom. Okay. So, zipper is done, or my not my zipper, my pocket piece is done. There's 3 pieces for each pocket. There's a exterior piece and then 2 lining pieces. So you'll have one that's a different color than your lining piece. I mean, you could use the same color for your lining, but so I see how I have my exterior, which is the vinyl, and then my interior, my inside pocket is the lining, which is the blue. So it's just 3 pieces. Okay, so we're gonna set that aside. I'm going to get my piece here so that I know that this is mirror image side B. So that's side pocket B. Okay. So now we're going to attach the side pockets to the main lining piece. So you're going to grab this piece here, which is your exterior.
Oh my God.
And you're just going to, what I'm going to do real quickly is I have these notches in my fabric that I had cut out, but I put my my interfacing on, and I didn't cut my notches out on my interfacing. So I'm just going to cut these notches out. I'm going to grab my good scissors because these notches are going to tell you what piece is what. So it's going to tell you what piece is the A side and what piece is the B side. So with the contrasting side of the pocket down against the right side of the main panel, pin side A to exterior main panel A. So you're going to know that that the exterior main panel A is correct because it's going to have the notch inside facing towards where your main zipper is going to be of your bag. So this is side A, and the notch is going to be on the inside. So I'm going to grab my side pocket A that we just made before the last, so I guess we didn't just make it. So when you look at your piece, you're going to put this here, and if it fits in nicely like this, then you know it's correct. If you grab this piece here, like if you grab piece B and you try to put it on, it's not supposed to look like this. Okay? It's supposed to be like that. Okay, so you're going to start with this piece here, and you're going to match up the edges, so edge to edge here, and then you're going to clip, easing this pocket into your exterior main panel. So you're just gonna follow this edge here. You're going to want right sides of your zipper facing down onto your main panel piece. I'm just going to clip this here. And I use an absurd amount of clips. I probably overdo it on the clips, but okay. So once you clip, how I like to check is I just like to pull it, and if it comes out like this and my zipper is facing out, then I know it's correct. So you're going to sew this at 1/4 of an inch away from the edge. Okay. So I'm going to, let's see, what way would be easier? I'm going to stitch with the lining side down. And I'm going to take it slow so that it's nice and even. So, 1/4 of an inch all the way down. I'm changing my stitch length back to a 3 1/4, making sure I back stitch. Okay. And I'm just going to make sure that everything stays nice and even. It's going to be just making sure that everything lines up, and then I'll stitch a little bit, making sure that my needle is down when I'm positioning my fabric. I'm just going to take it slow, following that curve. Brenda, I got this at Hobby Lobby, but I got this maybe like 2 years ago. I've been hoarding it. I originally bought it when I found out I was pregnant with my fourth, and I was gonna make a Bella Swoon bag. And maybe it wasn't 2 years ago. It's probably about a year ago. No, it would have been 2 years ago now. Because he just turned 1 in August. So I had bought it because I thought I was going to make a Swoon bag. Yeah, I ended up not doing that. Okay, so I'm going to make sure my needle is down, and I'm going to lift up my foot, and I'm going to move my zipper pull out of the way. And then I'm going to stitch the last piece here down at 1/4 of an inch. Oh no. And guess what? I ran out of bobbin thread. So I'm gonna have to reclip and restart. Okay. So I'm just going to put in a new bobbin. Luckily, I didn't completely sew the whole pocket with no bobbin in. So it's only just a little bit, so no. Just going to match my edges again. Add a couple clips. I'm just going to start maybe about 5 stitches from where I originally ran out of thread. I'm going to, okay. So I'm going to start about 5 stitches from where I ran out. Start, back stitch, and just continue on like nothing happened. Okay. So making sure it's all nice and even on this curve. Just pretty much following where I originally had put some stitching when I didn't realize my bobbin ran out. Okay. So everything is caught. I'm going to trim this up. And there we go. You have one of your side pockets. So let's see, now I believe you're going to top stitch. So you're going to flip the pocket lining side down, press well, fold the zipper tab in half with the zipper teeth facing up towards the top edge of the main panel. Lay the panel over lining panel A to make sure the edges of the pockets match up. Okay, so flip the pocket. I want to make sure that, I guess you go to tab and make sure that everything is even. Okay. Interesting. So you want to go zipper tab to zipper tab here. It's saying, I don't know actually. So zipper tab to zipper tab. It's supposed to be even. So flip the pocket lining side down. Flip the pocket lining side down. Press well. Fold the zipper tab in half with the zipper teeth facing up towards the top edge of the main panel. Okay. So you want to get tabs and tabs, and it's saying to trim down if it's not even. But that will be quite a bit. Is it? Oh wait, hold on. Okay. So I want you to fold the zipper tabs like this in half, so that when you fold it, you want to make sure that these pockets line up. So when I fold it, you can see, uh-oh, no. Sorry, my kids are turning off my lights. Okay, so you want to fold these zipper tabs right here in half, making sure that the pockets line up. You see the lining piece? So like when it's not folded, you can kind of see right here where it's a little off. But that's okay, because when you fold the tabs in half, it evens it up. You see that? So I'm good on that. I'm gonna set this aside, and we're gonna do the same exact thing to piece B. See, sometimes it takes me a little bit to process it. So I had to read it a couple of times, so like there's no way we're cutting that much off. Okay. Put these here. Now we can go to piece B. So, edge to edge. I'm going to add a few clips. Get my other edge here. Add some clips. And now I'm just going to ease my pocket into the exterior, or to the exterior main panel. It should fit nicely. Sometimes you might be a little tight, so you have to ease it in a little bit, but it looks like it's fairly. So it's clipped in. Just gonna set this back. Okay, now trying to see what side is easier. I feel like okay, I'm going with this one here. I'm gonna have to go. Okay. Trying to just find what side is easier to stitch. I can't remember how I did the other one. Did I do lining side up? No, I did. I did lining side up. Okay, here we go. So I know my edges are even here, so I'm going to back stitch and add 1/4 inch, putting my foot down. Making sure my needle is down, I'm going to move my zipper just a little bit my zipper pull out of the way, since I'm starting on the opposite side towards my, so at 1/4 of an inch. Okay, putting my needle down, and I'm going to move my zipper out of the way. I'm pulling it back up to the top, and I'm just going slow, making sure I'm still at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance to adhere my zipper. Taking the curve slowly, making sure everything is even. Okay. Okay. Cut off my excess threads. And I'm going to do the same thing I did to the other side. Going to fold my zipper tabs in half. And it's even, so I am done with that. I'm going to set that aside, and let's see. So now we're at the handles and straps and connectors. We already did the straps, so what we're going to be doing now is doing the handle and the connectors. The handles should be 1 inch wide, so let's grab the handles and the clip connector, strap connector. Okay, so we have our handles. So if you're doing the large, your handle is going to be 1 inch. If you're doing the mini like I am, your handle is going to be 3/4 of an inch. So this is measured at 3 inches, center marked at 1.5. Going to get your double-sided tape if you're using vinyl, or if you don't like to use double-sided tape, you can just fold in half and clip. You can fold to the center seams and then clip. So I like to do the same exact thing that I did with my strap. I'm not going straight up to the, I'm not butting my edges straight up to that line. I'm leaving about a 1/16 of an inch from that line. And I'm doing the same thing to the other side. That way I have about 1/8 of an inch. The handle is, let's see. So it doesn't have a number. It's one of the pieces, the additional cut list that you cut. If you're doing the mini, it's going to be 3 inches by 8 inches. If you're doing the large, it's going to be 4 inches by 10 inches. Oh yeah, you're right. It did. It said that right there. So you're gonna want to baste your. You're gonna want to baste. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to fold these tabs in half here, and I'm just going to clip. I'm gonna do the same exact thing to the other side. I'm gonna clip, and then I'm just gonna get this here, and I'm going to, oops, my clips came out. So I'm going to, so I'm going to go ahead and baste like the pattern says. It's I'm just making sure that my tabs are folded in half, like up here. I'm gonna fold here, flip, and I'm gonna baste along here. I'm gonna baste just at 1/8 of an inch. So we're gonna baste these panel sides here at, I'm doing at 1/8 of an inch. Okay, I'm looking for my hump jumper. Maybe it's on the other side. Okay, I'm just grabbing my hump jumper. That way, when I get to my tabs, I can stitch over it. Okay, my tabs are gonna be a little thick because I'm using vinyl. Snips. Okay, so I had to cut my threads because it was really thick, so it kind of got being a little bit of a pain. So I'm going to do the same exact thing that I did to this side. I'm going to grab my hump jumper and try to get this basted here. I'm going to go at 1/8 of an inch. Going a little bit slow so I don't break a needle. Okay. There we go. So it's basted. I'm going to do the same exact thing to my other side. Folding my zipper tabs. Hopefully my clips stay, unlike the last time. Folding it in half, flipping, and flipping. Okay. So I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to get my hump jumper. I'm going to start as close as I can to this strap connector. Making sure it stays even. It wants to shift, it's so thick. Okay. There we go. Okay. So I'm just taking it slowly. I'm basting at like 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. So I'm just trying to get this underneath my foot. Okay. Takes a little bit of working to get it under my foot. That way I know that it catches it. A hump jumper is always a good tool to have, just in case. Okay, so now I'm getting close to my, I'm getting close to the next tab, so okay. There we go. Brenda, what do you mean? Do you need to get something special for your Juki? Uh-oh. Okay, so I'm going to rebase this. It's not even though I know it's supposed to be even. No biggie. It'd be just fine leaving it just like this, but I want to make sure that, because my other one caught. Where is my seam ripper? Yeah, it's a hump jumper. It's this little tool here. It's relatively inexpensive. There's another one, it's gray and it kind of like V's out a little bit. But yes, I had this hump jumper even before I had my industrial machine. I used it a lot when I first started bag making on my domestic. And I used it on tough seams like this. Like when it was uneven, or it helps to stitch, it helps to get over those humps, which is probably why it's called a hump jumper. Okay, so right here, I'm just taking out a couple of these, well, not a couple, I'm unstitching this here so that I can shift this waterproof canvas back to where it needs to be on the edge, because it didn't catch. So my seam, so I'm just putting them even again. My tabs are already stitched, or what is it, basted in half. So this just kind of shifted when I was sewing. I didn't make sure that everything was even like I normally do. No big deal. I just have to take a couple of these stitchings out, put it back to where it needs to be, and stitch it at 1/8 of an inch like I did before. So I'm just stitching over the previous stitching that I did before. That way I know that it's not going to come undone, my basting. If it does, it's really no big deal because it's just a basting stitch. But I can be a bit of a perfectionist sometimes. Okay. Okay. So, what I did was I just took off some of these stitchings here, and as you can see, it's back to being even. Yes, Brenda, the gray one would definitely work. Couldn't you start at the edge and sew towards the tab so it doesn't shift? Yeah, you could. I just didn't really think of that, I guess. Okay. So, done. My other one is done. Okay, now we can go to the handles. So, I keep 1/8 of an inch. Now I am going to clip this. Yes, if you have a walking foot industrial machine, you will not need to use a hump jumper like I am, but I do not have a walking foot industrial machine. I just have a regular straight stitch. Pretty much it says it's made for clothing. I find that I can sew my bags on it. It's cheaper. But yes, if you have a walking foot like a 1541 or possibly a 1181, is that what it's called? Walking foot, you probably won't need to use a hump jumper because it's a walking foot. It's made to go over thick seams and stuff. Okay. So now we're going to do just like we did with the, we're gonna go, just like we did with the strapped stitch at 1/8 of an inch. I'm moving my stitch to a 4 because that's what I like my top stitch to be on my straps. So I'm starting at the folded edge, and I'm just going to go down at 1/8 of an inch. I feel like we're pretty much almost done. I'm just making my way down. I'm going at 1/8 of an inch at a stitch length of a 4 on my machine. Okay, where did I put my snips? There they are. Okay. Okay. Stitching is done for my handle. I'm gonna set that aside. Okay, so repeat only the first paragraph of the steps. Okay, so now we have our strap connectors. We're going to do the same thing we did with the straps. We're only going to do the first part where we fold in half, where we fold the edges in and fold in half. So I'm going to mark my middle. Let's see. This is 2 or 1.5. Right? 1.5. So 3/4 is what we're going to. mark our centers at. So I'm just going to mark my center to 3/4 of an inch. So 3/4 and 3/4 of an inch. Going to get my double-sided tape. I'm going to, I believe for this one, so if you fold in half, yes. So this one's going to be a little bit different. We're only going to fold to the center markings. We are not folding, so like we'll put the edges towards the center, but we are not folding it in half like we did the straps. We're just doing the first part of the instructions that the pattern has told you to do. On these here, I do go all the way to the line that I marked, because I want to butt my edges up, or my raw edges together, because I'm not folding it in half again. So I want my edges to be right up to each other. Because then we're going to fold this in half like this. And that will make your 3/4 of an inch strap. See? Put that aside. We're going to do our second one. So, like I said, I don't leave the gap when it calls to only fold to the middle. I only leave a gap if I'm doing straps, and I'm going to fold it again. So, that way you can't even really see that it's folded. Uh-oh. Am I back? Okay, so then you're going to fold in half, matching the short end. The long raw edge should be hidden. Slide. Okay, so now we're going to slide a rectangle ring. And I'm making sure, so you see this little welded part? It's like a line that you can see on the hardware. I make sure that that's on the inside so it can't be seen. So I only have a solid top. No, I have not done the front clip connector. I am doing that. That is at the very end. So, repeat, fold, match. Okay, so now I'm going to match in half, just like this. I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to grab my rectangle ring, and I'm going to put that in just like the last one. So now we're going to stitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off my foot. I'm going to put on my, let's see. I'm going to get the Teflon foot. And I want, which one? So I'm going to get the one with the hole that's facing towards the left, because this is going to help me get super close to my strap connector without hitting it, and still give me a nice stitching. So we're going to top stitch. So we're going to start at the bottom, so we're going to start at the bottom, come all the way up, go over, get as close as you can to the rectangle ring without hitting it, and then you're going to go back down. So just going to make sure, if you need to, you can add maybe like 1/4 of an inch, which actually is what I'm going to do so that it doesn't shift. I like to use a lot of double-sided tape. I know that I'm going to be at 1/4 of an inch stitching, so I know that it's not going to be in my seam allowance whenever I'm stitching this, so I don't have to worry about gumming up my machine. I'm using 1/4 of an inch double-sided tape, and I'm just using this so it doesn't shift. I just really want to make sure that everything is nice and even. And I should probably take my double-sided tape off. So. And I just put it right in the middle. I didn't put it to the top because it will get in my seam allowance. As you can see here, this is my middle, and this is where my tape is at. It's all out of my seam allowance. If your edges of your vinyl is a little wonky, like you can kind of tell here it's up a little bit, that's okay. Just line it up as much as possible, because then you're going to be able to trim it up at the end so that it is all even. Okay. So now I'm going to start at my, so I'm starting as close as I can to my strap connector. I want to kind of start, I'm at a 4 stitch length. So I'm not back stitching here. I need to, actually, hold on. I'm going to change my foot. I'm going to change to my other one because this one is brand new and it looks like it's trying to chew up my vinyl. So I'm going to have to, I guess, sand down the edges of this Teflon. So I'm just going to switch to my metal one because I know it's not going to chew up my vinyl. So I'm going to start at the bottom. I want 1/8 of an inch. I'm trying to figure out how I can do 1/8 of an inch. Okay. There we go. Going to crank. I just want to take this slow because I don't want to accidentally There we go. So I'm hand cranking here because my foot is on my metal hardware. So I want to make sure that I get a nice even stitching. There we go. Okay. Whoops. Okay. Make sure I'm not missing any comments. Okay. Second strap is, connector is done. And I can move on. So I'm gonna put those away. So now we're going to add our connectors. So we're gonna get our back piece, and I have this paper piece of the mini, and what I'm gonna do is I just cut out just trim this here. This will help me to place my straps. Okay. So I just fold this up here, fold here, and fold here. Okay, and now I just need to get a pen, my marking pen. I have chalk somewhere. There it is. Okay. So I'm just going to mark with some marking chalk right where my straps are supposed to be. I'm making sure this is nice and even. Here we go. And then I'm gonna mark my center here. Mark my center. And then I'm gonna flip and put my second markings for my straps. Okay. Okay. So now my markings are on, as you can see. Gonna get our handle. And I like for the folded side to be facing out. So if you're looking at the bag from the front, you don't see the folded side here, you see this. So I'm just going to play around with it to kind of see how I want it. And so I want to make sure that it looks like this. That's the folded side is, or the non-folded side, where you can see the two vinyls. I want to make sure that that is what's facing. So what I'm putting it back. Hold on. I always struggle with, I feel like I probably make this harder than it needs to be. Okay, so there we go. So I'm going to, now that I figured out what way I want it, I'm going to clip my straps down. So there we go. Now to do the strap connectors. So we've got one here. And one here. Just want to make sure they look somewhat even, and they do, so. Oh, this one's shifted, so you want to make sure that they don't shift, so use clips. Okay, perfect. Now I'm going to baste. But first I need to change my foot back to my regular foot, or my Teflon foot. Okay. So now we can baste. I'm just going to baste at about like 1/8 of an inch. Do the same exact thing to the other side. Okay, my strap is down. And now baste the strap connectors. Just going to go in a straight line. Okay, so I need to change my needle because it's starting to go dull, and I can hear it, and it's starting to fray up my my thread. So I'll be right back. Just needed to get my it definitely was. So I'm just gonna grab a new needle. I always have extra. Just for this reason. So I'm using a 116 needle for my bags. If I have really thick seams, I'll push it to a, I have a 110-18 needles to get me through thicker seams if I need to. Okay. Yep. Turn my machine on. There we go. Big difference. That was easier. As you can see, when I first was doing it, I was struggling. But now that I changed my needle, my machine is so much happier. Okay, 1/8 of an inch. There we go. Changing your needle makes a big difference. If you find that your stitching looks horrible, and you've already re-threaded and threaded, try changing out your needle. If your fabric is if your thread is fraying, probably time for a new needle. Yes, it's 116. For mine. Okay. So I have everything on. So now I want you to trim the excess off for your strap connectors. And I based mine at I ended up basting mine at 1/8 of an inch. I'm gonna go back and base at 1/4 of an inch like the pattern says. I did at 1/8 of an inch, so I'll know that I'll have a extra stitch of stability. Just want my straps to be extra secure. There we go. Okay. Now, so we're going to pull one end of the back strap. So now we're going to grab our back straps, our straps. So, get my excess threads off. Let's see what time we're at. Oh, we're still on good time. I feel like I should get this done in an hour. So we're going to pull one end of a strap through the bottom of a strap slide. So we have two. I did catch myself, Angela. I was like, oops, she's going to be mad. Okay. Whoops. So you got two slide adjusters. I'm going to set those aside. You're going to want to pull one end of the back strap through the bottom of a slide adjuster. So the bottom is going to be the one that has this like open where the little welded part. Hold on. So you're gonna go bottom and over, right? Yes. So you're going to pull through and then you're going to attach with a straight stitch. So I'm just going to walk myself through this to make sure I'm doing it correctly. So yes. So pull one end of the back straps through the bottom of a slide over the center bar and back down through the other opening. If using woven fabric, fold the end of the strap under a 1/2 inch to hide the raw edge. Since I'm using vinyl, I don't have to worry about that. So you're gonna sew the strap as closely to the side as closely to the slide as you can. And just I'm going to switch my foot. I know it's a lot of switching feet and stuff, but to be honest with you, it makes it so much easier. So I just want to make sure that I get nice stitching. So I'm going to stitch this as close as I can to my, I'm also going to rivet this, I feel like, possibly. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and do a second row of stitching. It only calls for you to stitch one time, but I just like the added thought of like extra security, especially because this is going to be going to my son and I know he's going to be twirling around the straps, spinning the backpack. It's going to be very hard on the straps. So there we go. That strap is done, and now we are going to with that side up. Okay, so you're going to get it and you're going to stick it through. Yes, I switch my feet constantly depending on what I'm doing also. It really helps to make a nice bag. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I hope you can see. So I have my main panel or my back panel facing up. I have the strap connector with the side that we just stitched with the raw edge. You see the raw edge right here facing up. I'm going to slide this in, making sure it doesn't twist and my raw edge that we just sewed is up. I'm going to pull through and I'm going to thread or put through my slide adjuster here. There we go. So there, now you have a backpack strap. And you're going to put your strap right to where you have your marking. That's where you're going to add your strap. And connect it. I'm going to go ahead and do my second. So I'm going to do what I did. So I'm going from the bottom and I'm going to sew my strap. Okay. Making sure they're about even. Okay. So I'm going to sew my strap as close to the strap connector as I can. I don't want to accidentally hit it, so I'm going to and I'm going to do a second line of stitching just like I did the first. I'm going to make sure that I don't have any excess threads because I don't want it to get sucked up because it'll cause nesting on my stitching and I don't want that. Okay. I'm just cutting off the excess threads. I don't have my thread zapper anywhere near me, so I'm just going to use some, make sure I don't melt my vinyl. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing to this strap here. Just finishing my thread, my tail ends. Did I say something? Okay. Now we're going to do the same exact thing, making sure that this side is facing up. Making sure that this is not twisted in any way. So it's facing up. I'm going to put it through. And I'm going to go up and over. Okay, and I'm going to do the same exact thing that I did to the other side. I'm going to attach it, and then we're going to baste it on. So I'm going to change my foot back to my Teflon foot. Okay, so that's on. I'm going to tighten it a little bit better. Okay. So then pin the end of the back panels within the placement marks of the raw edge of the strap. Should match the raw edge of the back panel. And then we're going to stitch at 1/4 inch. So. raw edge with raw edge and 1/4 inch. Do the same exact thing to my other side, making sure they're not twisted, they're not, and raw edge to raw edge, and you're going to match it at a 1/4 inch. So there we go. Okay, cut off my excess threads. Okay, now we have our back. I'm going to put that aside. Let's see. So we're going to adjust the straps so they are as short as can be to keep them out of the way. So I'm going to adjust them all the way to the top pretty much. Do the same thing to the other side. And set this aside. So now we're going to do the main panel. So we're going to do the main panel zipper. But first, I need to see where I need to put my I'm going to put my my nameplate. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until the end, but when I turn it, because I'm going to probably want it on the side. Don't really know where I'm going to put my nameplate at. Oh, Angela. Let me tell you, he is nowhere near calm and gentle. If you haven't seen what my area looks like behind me, it's filled with cups that he got a hold of and threw them all over the floor. Oh no. Okay. See where we are at on time? Okay. We're getting close to the 4-hour mark. So I'm gonna get my last, or my zipper pull. I should have, no, I'm only gonna have one. 1, 2, 3, yes. So we're gonna slide the end of a zipper tab inside, and I believe, yeah. So I'm gonna want it to go this way, because I want my top to be where it opens, and so like, wait, no. I want it this way because I want my closed end at the top, and I want to pull it down because the bottom is going to be where the that little connector is. Let me see if I can find that piece. Oh, this piece here. This piece is going to be at the very end here. So I want to make sure that my bag opens so it's it closes to the top, opens to the bottom. So this will be closing to the top and it'll open to the bottom. So I'm just putting this in. And I'm going to clip and sew this tab with a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And I'm going to have my top stitching thread or my stitch length at a 4. Make sure I get a nice good. Okay, so tab is on, stitched at 1/8 of an inch. And okay, so it wants you, so it's saying there will be a fold at the end of the zipper tab. So it wants you to cut it along the fold. So right in the middle, I'm going to cut it. There we go. So you'll have 2 pieces like this. I'm gonna move my zipper to the top so that I don't accidentally knock it off. So we're gonna pin the zipper face down to the right side of the main exterior A, which is, okay, so the main exterior A, right? Yep. So A with the notch. You're gonna match the edge of the zipper to the, you're gonna matching the edge of the zipper to the top raw edge of the main panel. The end of the zipper tab should match to the point on the left with a 1 inch gap to the right between the zipper stop and the edge. Okay. Grab my zipper. So. I'm going to cut down my zipper just a tad inside because I don't have a zipper stop, so where did my, whoops, trying to see if I can find my, I'm going to burn my edges here. Okay. So you want 1 inch, so it needs to be like 1 inch from edge to edge. So I'm going to grab this and measure. I have a little bit of overhanging of my interfacing, so I'm just going to cut it down to even for my edge so that I know it's exactly 1 inch. Okay, so. The end of the zipper tab should match the point on the left with a 1-inch gap to the right between the zipper stop and the edge. Okay. Perfect. So now I want to mark 5/8 of an inch from the left. So okay. So I'm going to measure 5/8 from the edge, and I'm going to mark. Oops. I'm going to mark it, but I want to make sure that it's nice and even, exactly where it needs to be. Probably would be easier if you pinned it or clipped it. I did not. Okay, and then I'm going to, oops, so this is that thing. 5/8 and measure. So you want your zipper facing, you want your zipper wrong sides down. So I marked it at the 5/8, and now I'm going to clip. Probably should have clipped before, like it said. But, so my zipper's longer, I'm going to cut it down because I cut it longer than the pattern said to. I'm going to measure this because I'm going to want my, let's see, where is my zipper? So 9 inches, so I'm going to measure out, I'm going to measure 9 inches from my zipper tab, or yeah, from my zipper tab. So I'm gonna, sorry, I'm unclipping this because my zipper is longer because I'm not using a pre-made zipper. She has a pre-made zipper at 9 inches, so if you're using a zipper tape, you're gonna want to measure out 9 inches from the end of your zipper tab down to so you're going to want to measure 9 inches down and cut that off. So 9 inches, 9 inches. I'm just going to. Okay. Perfect. So now I'm at the spot it wants What am I supposed to get? Let's see. Okay. So from raw edge to raw edge, now I'm gonna pin my zipper all the way down. I'm just going to use my clips to okay. So you're gonna want to cut your zipper probably at about 3/8 of an inch. So do 9 3/8 of an inch if you haven't cut it, because you have it looks like you have the zipper end on it. Mine's gonna be a little short, but it'll be fine. Okay. So now we're going to adhere this at a 1/4 of an inch, but you want to start at that 5/8 of an inch marking, and I can see it through my I can see the marking from the edge here. So I'm just lining up my needle with it, and I'm going to stitch down. You want to attach it at a 1/4 of an inch, or base it on at an 1/8 of an inch, because you're going to add your exterior, or you're going to add your lining. So I'm basing mine at an 1/8 of an inch. That way I don't see my 1/4 inch seam allowance in the I don't see my 1/4 inch seam allowance, or my basting stitch, when I adhere my lining. Okay. Hi, Julie. Hi, Norma. Sorry. I'm trying to beat the 4-hour mark. I thought I was gonna get this done, but it looks like I might end up having to do a part 2. Okay. So now we're going to get our lining pieces for the, so let's see. I feel like, yes, I forgot to, oh wait, no, I didn't. My notches are in there. So you're going to line up, you're going to get a mirror image, I believe. So you're going to pin lining B. So you're going to pin the mirror image of the lining. So you want to make sure that these notches on the side match up. It's okay, Sherry. I do kind of go a little quickly. I have to, I'm trying to make sure I get this within the 4-hour mark, because sometimes it gets a little confusing when I have multiple parts for the, when I have multiple parts to the sew along. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to mark the 5/8 of an inch on this side. because I want to make sure let's see, I can still see a little bit of it, so I want to make sure that I mark my 5/8. That way I know where to start and stop. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to adhere this, or adhere. I don't know why I keep saying adhere. I'm going to stitch this with a 1/4 of an inch. Starting at that 5/8 of an inch, I'm going to have to move my zipper pull down because my foot's going to hit it. Make sure you don't accidentally, if you're using zipper tape, you don't want to accidentally pull off your zipper pull. Okay, so I'm lining up the 5/8 of an inch marking with my needle, and I'm going to start back stitch, and I'm adhering this on, or stitching this on with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Making sure it's all even. So I'm going to put my needle down here, and I'm going to pull my zipper pull back up. I'm just going to make my way down, stitching this on with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, like the pattern says. I can feel right where my zipper ends. Okay, so now you have your, make sure you're not like me. I cut this a little too short. You want to cut this at 9 3/8. Because you should, all the zippers should have been cut at 11 inches. If you cut at 11 inches, it'll be perfect. Since I cut mine long, I cut it a little too small. So it should be 9 3/8 from the zipper end to the end of the zipper. So mine's just gonna be 3/8 of an inch off, but I'll figure it out when I get there. So now we're going to top stitch. So I'm just gonna pull this, making sure it's even. I'm going to clip right there. And I'm going to, you're going to want to start your top stitch at 5/8 of an inch. So right where you've been stitching at. So I'm going to get my ruler, mark out 5/8 of an inch. Just small, where it's hardly noticeable. And I'm going to top stitch this, change my stitch length to a 4, making sure everything is nice and even. Back stitching. Just making my way down. You want to make sure that you mark out that 5/8 of an inch from the edge where the zipper tab is at. You don't want to top stitch at the beginning where the zipper tab is at. Okay, top stitched down. Oh, I love it, Chris. Oh my goodness. We lived in like a 3-bedroom apartment. You know how cramped I was in my old workspace, but I'm loving it. It's so nice living in our own home and not in like an apartment. And the boys have a backyard so they can go out and play. My 1-year-old is loving it. He can go out and play because he really couldn't go out and play like before. Because he was still itty bitty. Okay, so now we're going to do the same exact thing that we did now we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to match up right sides together. Or no, we're not going to match up right sides. We're going to match up the ends. I'm going to mark out my 5/8 of an inch. I'm going to use chalk. Thank you, Norma. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Cheryl. Yes, we're super excited about this. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark 5/8 of an inch also from my back side of my fabric, or my main piece, my main panel. We're going to, wait, yeah, I did that right. So we're going to match up the zipper tabs here. So match up, I can see where my 5/8 of an inch is at. And I'm going to make my way down, matching up my edges. I'm going to do the same exact thing that we did to the other main panel, the A side. I'm going to attach this on with a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Starting at the, so I'm going to move my zipper head down just a tad. Change my stitch length back to a 3 1/4. So I'm starting at the 5/8 of an inch, making sure that raw edge and raw edge is matched. It is. I'm going to do an 1/8 of an inch. Just adjusting, making sure I'm right on that 5/8 of an inch. There we go. Okay. I'm going to go back stitch a little bit and adhere this on, or I keep saying adhere. I don't know why I'm saying that. I'm going to stitch this down at an 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to move my zipper pull all the way back to the top, making sure that my zipper is even with my edges. So my zipper tape edge is even with my main exterior. If you go a little past an 1/8 of an inch, that's okay, because the pattern says to put it on with a 1/4 of an inch. You just want to make sure it's within the seam allowance, because you don't want So now what I'm gonna do is, no, I should be good to be able to. So I'm going to match this end just like I did to the other side, sandwiching my zipper in between my main and this lining piece. I'm just going all the way down, matching the edges. I'm going to stitch this on with my main exterior panel facing up so that I can see that 5/8 of an inch marking. And I'm just going to, put my needle down, and I'm going to move my zipper head out of the way. And I'm going to stitch this on at 1/4 of an inch. Making sure everything is even. Okay, my needle's up, putting my zipper up, and I can stitch the rest without having to worry about. I'm just stitching this on with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay. I'm going to open this up, and now we're going to top stitch. So I'm going to pull this down, matching my edges. Okay. Okay. Now I'm just going to do the same exact thing, mark 5/8 of an inch down. Just a small mark. It's not really noticeable. Right on the side. Okay. And I'm going to top stitch this at 1/4 of an inch, or not 1/4 of an inch, sorry, 1/8 of an inch. I'm adjusting my stitch length. I'm going to roll this up so it doesn't get in my way and cause me to get wonky stitching. So, doing 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Whoops. Just slowly going. Just working my way, stitching at 1/8 of an inch. And I want to make sure I stop right at that 5/8 of an inch. And then back stitch. Okay. Cutting off just my excess threads, and there we go. We have our main zipper. So now we're going to pin the 2 exterior main panels right sides together, matching all edges, and sew along. So we're going to match these edges these edges right here together. So you're going to want to clip here along the edge. Whoops. Okay, so you're going to want to clip right where the notches are at. Good night, Cheryl. Thank you for joining. Okay. Hopefully we're getting close to the end because I only have about 20 minutes. I feel like I'm most likely going to have to do a part 2. If I do a part 2, you just go to the event section and I will put the part 2 in there. Just kind of like how I did this this live. So we're going to sew along the edge with the rectangle notch at a 1/2 inch seam allowance, starting at the bottom corner of the notch, back stitch at the start and stop, and then we're going to open the zipper completely and press the seam allowance open. Top stitch along both sides. Open the zipper completely and press the seam allowance open. And then we're going to repeat to the lining. Okay, so going to a 1/2 inch. Starting at where the bottom of the you start at the bottom of the notch. Okay, 1/2 inch seam allowance. You're going to want to back stitch. And just continue all the way down at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I have my stitch length set to 3 1/4. Yeah. And in. Whoops. Okay. Wasn't thinking and completely took off my zipper. So I might end up hopefully I can put this back in. Okay. So I just need to re-put my zipper in because I pulled it off. I'm just trying to make sure it's even. Okay. Got lucky on that one. I don't know. Let me see. No, luckily it's going on the way it needs to. So luckily the way the bag is set up, to open, it's actually opening the way that you like. It's opening the opposite way than you normally would. So luckily, I hope that it's hard to explain. So luckily where the opening is, it's opening so that when I put it back in, it's closing. So it's going the same way. So yes. My luck, I can tell you I have done this. I have done that before where I took the zipper head off and it went on the opposite way. And it was very sad. Okay, so I'm putting a clip so that this doesn't happen to me again. So I can't press the, I'm gonna have to finger press the seams because I'm using vinyl and I don't want to accidentally, melt it, because I totally will. So this is gonna be the hard part. Somehow I have to figure out how to put this on the bottom. Gonna top stitch this. It's gonna be super awkward with the way the bag is. I'm just making sure that my seam is open. I have to do a little bit of adjusting while I'm okay, so I'm just, what is going on? What is this? Okay. It's gonna be really awkward because I have that clip and you're gonna have your that's where your zipper stuff is gonna be for the zipper. I think I'm gonna have to move my clip so that I can get to the edge. Okay, there we go. So 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch from the center seam. My stitch length is at a 4, and I'm just gonna have to carefully so my seam is open, and I'm just going to just making sure my seam stays open, and I'm going to stitch at 1/8 of an inch on each side of this, on each side of the panels. Yes. Okay, well, if he said no to you, he said no to you. Well, you can't have candy. It's too late. Okay. Oh, good. Good night, Brenda. Thank you for joining. Okay. So, I did my first top stitching, and now I gotta do my second. This one might be a little easier. I'm gonna go from the bottom and then up to where so I'm going right at the seam. I'm going at 1/8 of an inch. This is where it's gonna be tricky. Oh, I guess if I would have done this, it would have been a little bit easier. An 1/8 of an inch all the way. Wow, this would have been so much easier. Oh, it's easier because guess what? My zipper came out. Okay. It's fine. It's totally cool. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna put on my zipper again. Okay. Okay, so you're going to do the same exact thing now to your lining piece. So I'm going to match my lining up, and I'm going to stitch it at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, so 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way down. And I left my seam, my stitch length to a 4. Should be fine. So I'm going to go and I'm going to re-stitch this because I have my stitch length at a 4 and it kind of spreads out a little bit. So I'm just going to go back over this. Okay. So for this one here, it says to repeat to the same edge of the lining and trim the seam allowance down to 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to trim my seam allowance down. This one here, you don't have to top stitch for the lining. So now we're going to attach the back panel. Using the back panel pattern piece, mark the center edge along the top and bottom of the lining and back. So we had already marked the centers on this piece, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remark this because I can't really see it. I can see the top one, but I can't see the bottom. So I'm just marking this. I'm going to clip. And then I'm going to clip there. And do the same thing to my panel piece or my lining piece.